Greetings, everyone, and welcome to our Fireside chat from real time to inclusion. My name is Liz Dempsey. I'm the lead on event content and communications at Payments Canada, and it's my great pleasure to be moderating this discussion today. Creating access to financial services and inclusion for an enabled and empowered underbanked community in South Africa is a vision shared by the local payments industry. These efforts are central to addressing the key goals recognized in the South African Reserve Bank's Vision 2025 for financial inclusion, a reduced dependency on cash, and the development of a modern integrated platform for digital payments. In this session, we'll share the inside story on PayShap, South Africa's first low-value interbank real-time digital payment service launched in the market in March 2023. During this session, Mpo Siddiqui, head of real-time payments at BankServe Africa, will offer a view on how this is creating more digital enablement and inclusivity for South Africa and its role in kickstarting the economy of the future. We'll get a behind the scenes look at the partnership between BankServe Africa and the banking community that made PayShap a reality. Mpo, let's start with an introduction, and thank you so much for being with us here today. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and your experience at BankServe Africa?
Thank you very much, Liz, yeah, good day to everyone. My name is Paul Sadiki, and as Liz had already shared, I'm the head of real-time payments at BankServe Africa, and I've had the pleasure over the last 12 months or so of leading the industry effort to bring PayShap to life, which is our low-value real-time payment services that we launched in the market in South Africa in March. My history in payments spans a number of years in the four-party model. So I spent about 12 years in one of the leading South African banks, looking after both card acquiring and also had the pleasure of also looking after card issuing. So yes, I'm quite excited to be in this session and looking forward to the discussion.
Wonderful. And thank you so much for being with us here today, Mpo. Let's start with the payment landscape before PayShap. What were your challenges? Where did you see opportunity for real-time digital payments to close some of the gaps that we talked about at the beginning and help you meet your goals?
Yeah, South African journey has been on this for a number of years. I think we started this discussion in 2017 as a payment industry. So in South Africa, you have a payment association, which banks are member participants in the payment association, and your BankServe Africa as the system operator that operates in the market, both as an SO and also as a clearinghouse. And we embarked on this journey very much driven by the vision, as you rightly said, that our South African Reserve Bank set for the industry. And one of the core founding pillars was around how do we modernize the payment rail in South Africa? We're currently running on, pre-PayShap, we ran on a very old EFT credit legacy payment rail that has been around for a number of decades that was in desperate need for modernization. So really the industry got together in and about 2017, and at that point we conceptualized this whole idea called Project Future, really in terms of saying how do we design a target state architecture and functionality that is modern and that is based on modern newer data standards like ISO 222 data standards. So that journey in itself led to, I think, which is quite good in our world, was that the realization that it's important to also learn in terms of what have the other markets done around modernization of payment rails. So the industry, pulled together a number of key experts, both from banks, regulators, payments industry, and also some of our partners within the payments ecosystem. And we went about on a payments tour where we assessed other markets like India, China, mainly in the Southeast Asia. And that's where I think we learned a lot around the importance of modernizing payments in a manner that you build a low value real-time payments service. It is quite possible to really drive financial inclusion and capture, what we refer to as the underbanked. So these are the people in the country or in the ecosystem that are not that exposed to digital payment services and mainly conduct their payment services through cash. And that's where the journey started really with PayShap. It is, we always say there were three core foundation pillars. As the sub vision 2025 is leading to Project Future and its target state in terms of what payment architecture do we want to build for the industry, and the study tour. The combination of those three insights and input are led to what we today call PayShap, because out of that, the industry conceptualized the rapid payments program, which we ran for the last 3 years in getting our member banks to not only modernize their payment rails, but to build a centralized rapid payments platform that allows participants now to process low-value real-time payments in real time. I think that's where the journey started. And then again, it's a testament of that when you are in a journey of mobilizing or building and modernizing payments in any market, I think collaboration is key between industry participants. It's quite important. A very clear target state is also important, and anchored on a clear vision. So if your vision is clear in terms of what you're trying to achieve as an industry, both at a regulator level and market participants, it becomes a very easy a journey to follow and build towards this a program like what we've done with the rapid payments program, leading to the birth of PayShap in March 2023.
That's so interesting, the payments tour and how collaborative the journey was. And it does sound as though it's not just modernization for the sake of modernization, but modernization for a clear purpose, and that was a big enabler of your journey. And I'm hoping to dig into that a little bit more. So around the topic of collaboration and your transformation story, how did you partner with industry, with the banking community to make PayShap a reality?
Yeah, I think, and I guess that's why I say it's a collaborative effort, right? And I think the starting point is with the so our South African Reserve Bank's Vision 2025 goals, amongst them, as you rightly said, where, how do we increase competition? How do we drive financial inclusion? How do we ensure that, there is interoperability in payments? I think it just became natural or easy to follow for industry participants to say, here's a regulator or a regulation approach, which is contrary to how other markets will typically approach modernization, where it is a mandated exercise. In this case, from a sub perspective, it was, the foundation was a vision. And I think that's what drove the industry through not only Banks of Africa, but our Payments Association to say, how do we take the lead this time around as an industry and not respond to modernization efforts off the back of regulation, a mandate, or a gazetted deadline of saying you need to do this by that date, right? The industry here saw the opportunity to say this vision as set out by our regulator makes sense. It is aligned to the overall strategy of all of the participants in some shape or form, because they all, believe on the value of interoperability. They believe on the value of creating financial stability and security. They believe on the value of flexibility and adaptable systems. So it was through that where and this is a key component of our payments association, which we play a role in, is that when there's a clear vision or a clear roadmap set, it becomes very easy for the industry to come together and say, how do we respond collaboratively? What is the right answer to ensure that these goals are realized? And that's, I think, where we started, is that the environment allowed for that collaborative engagement through not only the payments association, but the member banks from their banking association, and driven by our Reserve Bank to say, let's all collaboratively, co-create this journey. And a lot of what we reflect on as members and participants on this journey, we reflect on the early days of this program, where a lot of whiteboarding sessions were held, number of hours were spent by thought leaders in our industry, mapping out what will be the ideal solution that will be the right answer to solving this problem or this vision that our sub had set out. And that's where the rapid payments product platform, or as it's referred to today by its brand name as PayShap, that's where we conceptualized the idea that we need to build a product that is made up of three function and feature, and one being that we need to enable instant payment or instant clearing as the foundation. And because that, at a platform level, irrespective of the mode of payment, modernizes EFT credits, right? It takes EFT credits, even though at our launch, we will launch with low value, but over time, at a platform level, you are able to add on other EFT credit products into that instant payment rail and effect instant payments irrespective of the ticket size, right? And the other feature of the product is, payments through a proxy. And really what that is that how do we take all of the proxy elements that consumers today know or use and couple that with a store of value, right? And here in the angle comes in around the store of value is that the reason why we believe so much in the importance of the store of value is that it allows for the inclusive banking, in the sense that you start to do financial inclusion by enabling store of values irrespective of whether those store of values are accounts or wallets, because technically, as long as a member participant has met all of the technical standards and the regulatory standards to participate in the payment rail, they should be able to receive and initiate payments off the back of their store of value, whether it be a wallet or an account. It is important, however, to note that at launch, we have enabled launch only on bank account-based store of values, and that is primarily driven off the back that current regulation in South Africa, stipulates that EFT credits can be originated, interbank EFT credits are originated within a bank store of value. So whether it be that bank, that store of value, even if it's a wallet or an account, it is still managed and accounted for by a bank. And the last product and function feature for PayShap is request to pay. And request to pay really is the third layer in our offering that says, and through a proxy, you are able to request a payment, and by the payee approving that payment, the payment is it's effected immediately, and it's effected in real time in an instant fashion. And the use cases for request to pay are very much in the retail ecosystem, both formal and informal. And I think where we see the biggest opportunity in South Africa, it's in the informal ecosystem, the micro merchants, where we believe that a request to pay function and feature will allow them to easily request payments for those that are due to pay them for services rendered or goods that have been sold.
Wow. And just digging into that a little bit deeper, and particularly around the financial inclusion piece, um, how do you define financial inclusion, and how do you see real-time payments and digital enablement as underpinning that vision of inclusivity?
Yeah, and you're right? So financial inclusion is such an expansive term. And I think for us, and more specifically looking at PayShap, I think the angle there is that how do we use digital payments as a form or as an element or a pillar into financial inclusion? I've already said that, I mean, in my view, when you talk about financial inclusion, is that you need to look at multiple elements. You need to look at the ability to have a bank account or a store of value for an individual. So the whole debate around banked and underbanked and bringing those communities into the banking ecosystem. You have financial inclusion in the context of access to credit, right? And then in this layer that we have looked into, we're looking at financial inclusion in the context of digitizing payments, which today are predominantly cash-based in the South African ecosystem, right? And mainly in the low-value informal sector, a lot of, if not the majority of those payments are today done in cash. And the payment in cash in itself, has got it's got advantages which are well documented, but also has a lot of disadvantages in the sense that those that are doing the payment are by definition unknown. They are by definition excluded. They are by definition, if you are an entrepreneur and you predominantly do your business in cash, that turnover, that data that show how much you are processing or receiving as payments, it's not visible to those that ideally could provide you credit, right? Which is another element of financial inclusion. So how we look at it is to say, through PayShap as a platform that enables low value and low ticket digital payments, how do you start the journey of bringing those individuals that today are not visible back into the electronic visible payments ecosystem? And that's, I think, where we've seen the opportunities, that it's not necessarily around fully displacing cash, because that's, it's probably an impossible task, but it's to say, how do we, within the cash ecosystem, start capturing and digitizing some of those cash transactions into digital transactions? In effect, those digital transactions, because a PayShap transaction is linked to a store of value, it then by means that the person who's either receiving that payment or initiating that payment by default on either end will need to then have a store of value enabled, right? And that store of value, either as a bank account, you're already starting to see that, we're slowly bringing people into the ecosystem of having a store of value or a bank account. And secondly, having the ability not only to make payments out of that bank account instantly and at low cost, but at the same time receive payments into that bank account instantly and at low to no cost. And as such, the need to transact in cash, especially for entrepreneurs and even person-to-person payments alike, starts to diminish over time, right? And I think for us, then the question around inclusion really talks to 2 points. Is one, digital payments as a form of displacing or encroaching into the cash dominant payment ecosystem as one form of inclusion, because you're taking an undocumented or not digitized payment rail and digitizing that. And secondly, the fact that this rail on both sides of the payer and the payee, there sits a store of value, you in itself starting to bring people into the banking ecosystem by enabling them to to have an account or a store of value.
You've mentioned more data traveling with payments in this. Um,
Mm.
uh, what sorts of opportunities has that enabled for businesses and consumers since the launch? Or
Yeah,
what do you envision it?
yeah, I think it's a bit of the vision versus where we are today. I mean, it's we've been live now in the market for a good 7 weeks, which has been an exciting time in South Africa. I mean, being able to do a payment even during a bank holiday and it clears instantly, it is something that 12 weeks back you couldn't do, right? So that's the one piece. I think from a data opportunity perspective, is that because this rail is built on an ISO 222 standard, it opens up such huge opportunity around what the level of data that we can start passing on in between participants. So today, in what we've gone to market with, you have more insights on who you are paying today than you do on traditional EFT rail. So those data elements, even though we have, for data privacy perspective, we have gone to length to ensure that it's for the payer and the payee, they see masked data elements, but it is data that you didn't see in legacy payment rails. Where today, if I'm making a payment to you, Liz, and I input your proxy, which we've launched with a mobile number as the going to market first launch, is that I input your proxy. I will get data returned to me that says, this is the person I'm about to pay. Am I sure to pay that? So one is you now know who you pay, right? When we move into the merchant ecosystem, as we roll out request to pay, we will want, our vision is to also incorporate the type of merchant. We want to incorporate location of where merchants are. We want to enrich data around merchant category codes. We want to put in, various elements around fraud management. So, for the purpose of fraud management, we are going to introduce the exchange of data elements amongst the fraud teams between both the payee bank and the payer bank to see if there are trends with either the payer or the payee that indicates if there's, some hint of fraud that we need to, to action upon. So I think the beauty around modernizing your payment platform, it's that, it's the idea of data that you can share amongst the operator, the paying bank and the payer bank. It's limitless. I think for us, we've narrowed it down for now on three elements. So the one being the ability to know who you're paying and enriching that. And secondly, on the back of knowing you are paying, as the country, we are able to also enable some of the FATF requirements that are imposed on us as a country to ensure that we are able to meet those, and those will incorporate into the payment rail. The other element we're looking into is enhanced fraud data exchange between the operator, the payer, and the payee bank to enhance the central fraud management engine that we are progressively building and will grow from there. And the third piece is when we land request to pay, it's around enhanced merchant data, especially around merchant category codes, locations of merchants. Because as you start doing day-to-day person-to-merchant payments, that level of data will be very powerful to start categorizing, where are the payments opportunities for member banks, where do they need to grow, how are the flows happening between rural and urban, areas, because that's also an important lever to start observing to say, do payments flow out of urban areas into rural areas, what happened to them when they are in that area? Are they circulating within the same ecosystem where today in cash you don't see, right? Because exactly. So that's where I will say the focus is, but it will continuously be enhanced, and that's the beauty of an ISO 222 standard.
Great. And what do you envision for the future? I think you've talked a little bit about this, but looking ahead, where do you see new possibilities being enabled by PayShap?
Yeah, so we've built this in stages, right? So and that's always the when you build I always say 2-year agile project. Normally agile project needs to be about 12 weeks, but at an industry effort level, you'll say 2 years is still a good enough effort. Is that we've launched what we term as product release 1, and it's very much instant payment and pay by proxy, right? And really addresses the majority of person-to-person payments. We will subsequently in Q4 this year or early Q1 next year launch request to pay, which will start looking into person-to-business payments. We're looking over the years to also increase the item limit to start, attending to some of the B2B high-value real-time payments, especially in the trade ecosystem, where especially contractors and the like, where goods needs to be collected instantly, but a payment needs to reflect in real time. So we're looking into some of those use cases. We believe that there's a big opportunity around government to persons payments down the line, especially around social services and relief funds disbursements, which so today we are able to do social services on a batched service, and that service works quite fine. And South Africa is well documented that we run one of the largest social services program in the world. Where we're looking into down the line is that we enable also government to person social services disbursements, and the vice versa, person to government payments for the purpose of other government services, whether it be local government services, whether it be provincial and national government services, where people are able to pay and that payment clears instantly, but then the service is rendered instantly. And that's where we see the big opportunity, is where PayShap as a payment service is able to integrate seamlessly with what I always refer to as line of business reconciliation services. So you are paying a municipal bill or a rates and taxes bill, that you are able to process an instant payment, and similar to you walking over the counter at your local municipality and paying cash, that they clear your account instantly. So when we get to that's sort of where we see the next evolution of real-time payments, is that integration with line of business technology, both in the person-to-business payments and the business-to-business payments, because that's when you will unlock the biggest value and the biggest economic efficiency and in instant payments. Yeah.
And for those who are going through their modernization journey, and coming out of a successful journey yourself, what advice would you have to those who are in the thick of it right now?
Yeah, I think, other than to say, stay in it, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. I think when you are in the, thick, the deep and thick of the journey, is that you somehow just don't see any hope. You somehow see that, when are we actually going to go live? I think for us, what we found, and I mentioned it earlier, what I found that worked quite well for us was that I think from the early days, we emphasized on the value of collaboration. This was and will remain an industry collaborative effort to deliver shared mutual value, right? So the participants in our ecosystem when they walked into this journey, they left all of their commercial interests outside of the room and focused on what is important for SA Inc. What is important for the population of South Africa? What's important for the economy of South Africa? Because if we lay down this foundation, the economic or the commercial interests of any of the participants will be addressed outside of it. And that's exactly how we work the journey. So that would be, I think it's an important a lesson to take. I think the other lesson is really, the journey of real-time payments has been done in multiple markets. And not all markets are the same, and not and also it doesn't follow that what was done in this market will work in another market. But I think taking lessons and observing what other markets have done and what they got right at what stage of the journey, because we also are still, for us, we're looking at it as a stage. We've just passed the build stage. We are now in the commercialization stage, which in itself will come with a lot of learnings, right? So I think also taking lessons from other markets, for me, will be a very it's an important note to take. So yes, I think it's never an easy journey to take. As I said, collaborating an industry of multiple participants with different commercial interests to focus on a singular country incorporated objective, if you want to call it that. It is I think the draw card, and of course learning throughout the journey who has done what and how well do they do it, and what do we learn from that. And it's a journey. I think, as I said, it's mobilizing, it's build, it's commercialization, and it's scaling, right? And we have just ticked two, in my view, of the important pillars. Now we are in the early stage commercialization, and then the other markets, and I think well documented, like India, who are now in the scaling phase. They just scaling in 10x volume growth, and we are also looking into that as the future where we want to go, where we scale in 10 or 100x volume growth. Yeah.
Well, Empo, we really appreciate your taking the time to share your lessons learned and your transformation journey with us here today. Of course, as you mentioned, by sharing journeys across jurisdictions, we'll all benefit, and we really do appreciate your time. So, huge
Thank you.
congratulations on the successful launch of PayShap, and we look forward to staying connected and hearing more about your future journey. So, thank you again for your time today.